Good evening, everyone. So let's start with the presentation for this. This is final assessment test. Okay. So in the final assessment test, in the first part, I have this question. The point 1 comma minus 1 is one of the vertices of a square. If 3x plus 2y is equal to 5 is the equation of one diagonal of the square, then what is the equation of the other diagonal? Okay, so we have a square, and out of the four vertices, we have one vertex 1 comma minus 1. 3x plus 2y is equal to 5 is the equation of one diagonal, and we want to find the equation of the other diagonal. Okay, so now if we move forward, we come to the slide which contains the solution for the first question. Okay, so in this, it is saying that the point 1 comma minus 1 does not satisfy the equation, this equation 3x plus 2y is equal to 5. Because see, if we substitute x is equal to 1 and y is equal to minus 1, so we get 3 minus 2, which is 1. So that is not equal to 5. Okay, and we know that a square contains two diagonals. Okay, so it means that the two vertices which lie on this diagonal, those two vertices do not contain this point 1 comma minus 1. Okay, so 1 comma minus 1 is one of the remaining two vertices which lies on the other diagonal, right? So 1 comma minus 1 is one of the remaining two vertices which lie on the other diagonal. Now we also know that the two diagonals of a square are perpendicular to each other. Okay, so and for perpendicular lines, product of slopes of perpendicular lines is minus 1. Okay, so if the slope of this line is minus 3 by 2, the slope of the other diagonal should be 2 by 3. And so if we want to write the equation for the other diagonal, we can write like this: 2x minus 3y is equal to k, where k is a constant. So if this is the equation of the other diagonal, 1 comma minus 1 will satisfy its equation. So if we substitute 1 comma minus 1, 2 into 1, minus 3 into minus 1, so we get 2 plus 3, which means k is equal to 5. So we get the value of constant k is equal to 5, so which means the equation of the second diagonal becomes 2x minus 3y is equal to 5. Right. Let's move forward then. We come to question number 2. In question number 2, we have two adjacent sides of a parallelogram are 2i cap minus 4j cap plus 5k cap, and I cap minus 2j cap minus 3k cap. Then it is saying, what is the magnitude of dot product of the vectors which represent its diagonals? Okay, so we are given the vectors representing the adjacent sides, and we need to find the dot product of the diagonals of that parallelogram. Okay, so if I come to this solution, if a and b represent two sides of a parallelogram, the two diagonals will be given by a plus b and a minus b, because we can apply the triangle law of vector addition here. Okay, so a plus b will represent the one diagonal and a minus b will represent another diagonal. So given vectors a and b, if we add the two vectors, I get a plus b as 3i cap minus 6j cap plus 2k cap, and a minus b is I cap minus 2j cap plus 8k cap. So now I want to find the dot product, so I will just simply take the dot product. So 3i cap plus minus 6j cap plus 2k cap dot I cap minus 2j cap plus 8k cap. Whenever we need to find the dot product of two vectors, we simply multiply the same component. So I cap will be multiplied by I cap, j cap component will be multiplied by j cap, and k cap multiplied will be k cap component. Correct. So 3 into 1 3, minus 6 into minus 2 becomes plus 12, and 2 into 8 is 16. So 16 and 12 is 28, and then 28 plus 3 is 31. So we have the final answer as 31 for this question. Okay. Now let's come to question number 3. In question number 3, we have what is the value of integral of e raised to ln x plus sin x into cos x dx. So this is a question based on indefinite integral e raised to ln x plus sin x in brackets and then multiplied by cos x dx, right? So if we come to the solution part, we know that e raised to ln x is x because exponential and logarithmic are inverse functions of each other, right? So it's like plus 2 and minus 2. If I take e raised to ln x, or if I take ln of e raised to x, the result will be x only. Okay, so in place of e raised to ln x, I can write x. So now the question becomes x plus sin x into cos x. So now what you do, you multiply cos x with the two terms because it is written outside the bracket. So it will become x into cos x plus sin x into cos x. So now we can split the integral into two parts. For the first integral we have x cos x dx. For the second integral we have sin x cos x. Right. Now sin x cos x can be written as sin 2x by 2 because we know from trigonometry that sin 2x is equal to 2 sin x cos x. Right. So sin x cos x can be written as sin 2x upon 2. Now x cos x, first integral we have two product of two functions. So in this case we can apply by parts integration. Cos x will be a trigonometric integral, x is an algebraic integral. So x becomes first function, cos x becomes second function. So x into sin x, we apply the formula for by parts, x into sin x minus integral of derivative of first function, so derivative of x is 1, and cos x, integral of cos x, so sin x dx. And then integral for this function will be, for sin 2x it will become minus cos 2x upon 2, because whenever we are integrating a function we have to divide by the coefficient of x. So sin 2x becomes minus cos 2x upon 2, and there is a 1 2 already in the denominator. So this becomes minus cos 2x by 4. And here for minus sin x integral is minus cos x, so this becomes plus cos x. Right, and then we add c in the end, which is the indefinite integration constant. So finally we get the result for this question as x sin x plus cos x minus cos 2x by 4 plus c. Okay. Now we proceed ahead. In this question, the two statements are given to us. ABC is a right angle triangle, right angled at A, which means B and C will be acute angles. Sin B is given to be 1 by 3. Then it is said that cosec C is equal to 3. And the second statement, if B cos B is equal to C cos C, and if the triangle is not right angle, then ABC must be isosceles. So these two statements are given to us, and we need to find which of the two statements is true, or both of them are true, or both of them are false. Right. So starting with the first statement, we have a right angle triangle, angle A is pi by 2. So obviously B plus C will also be pi by 2, because A plus B plus C must be 180 degree. So since B is plus C is pi by 2, C can be written as pi by 2 minus B. So sin C is sin pi by 2 minus B, and sin pi by 2 minus B becomes cos B. Sin pi by 2 minus B becomes cos B, and cos B can be written as root of 1 minus sin square B. Where we are given that, in the previous slide, we are given that sin B is equal to 1 by 3. So we substitute the value of sin B equal to 1 by 3. So 1 minus 1 by 9, 8 by 9, and then square root of 8 by 9 is 2 root 2 by 3. So we get the value of sin C as 2 root 2 by 3. So cosec C is reciprocal of that. Cosec C is 1 upon sin C, so reciprocal of this term will become 3 by 2 root 2. But in the first statement here it is given that cosec C is equal to 3. Right? So which is wrong, because cosec C is coming out to be 3 by 2 root 2. Therefore the first statement is false. Now we come to the second statement, B cos B is equal to C cos C. Using the sine rule we can replace B by 2r sin B and C by 2r sin C. So 2r sin B cos B and then 2r sin C cos C. So 2r gets cancelled, we get, RR gets cancelled. 2 sin B cos B becomes sin 2B, 2 sin C cos C becomes sin 2C. This implies that either B is equal to C, या तो B और C सेम है, या फिर B plus C pi by 2 है, because 2B plus 2C अगर pi होगा, if 2B plus 2C is pi, then also that this relation is satisfied, right? But if we assume the second case to be true, if we assume B plus C is equal to pi by 2, then A will be pi by 2, so which makes this triangle a right angle triangle. But in the second statement is given that triangle ABC is not right angled. In the second statement it is given that triangle ABC is not right angle. Therefore, the second case cannot be true, which means the first case is true, that is angle B is equal to angle C, and therefore this becomes a case of an isosceles triangle, right? This becomes a case of an isosceles triangle, which means the second statement is true here. Here it is said that then ABC must be isosceles. So this becomes correct statement, right? So I observed both the statements. First statement came out to be false. Second statement came out to be true, which means the answer for this question is option B. Only second statement is true. Okay, only second statement is true. Now we come to the last question for this presentation, which is related to the somewhat statistics part. We are given variables in summation of xi. We are given different variables x1, x2, x3 up till xn. Summation of xi is given to be 20, which means sum of all the values, and sigma of xi square, which means sum of squares of all the values given to be 200, and n is equal to 10, which means we are considering 10 values here for an observed variable x. Then they are asking what is the coefficient of variation. Okay, so first of all we should understand what do you mean by coefficient of variation. So here coefficient of variation means SD upon mu into 100, where SD denotes standard deviation and mu denotes mean. Okay, SD denotes standard deviation and mu denotes mean, right? And into 100 because it is calculated as a percentage part. So basically we use this formula. So we just calculate standard deviation and mean, put this in this formula, and then we can get the value of coefficient of variation. So mean, like in general, what do you understand by mean or average? So that is sum of all the values divided by the total number of values or observations. So here n is equal to 10 and sum of all the values, that is given to be 20, because here you see in this question sigma of xi is equal to 20. So sum of all the values is 20. So 20 by 10, which means mean comes out to be 2. So the value of mu is 2 here. Okay. And then for the formula standard deviation, we have sigma xi minus mu whole square upon n. Right. So this becomes sigma, if you expand this xi square, minus the value of mu is 2. So 2 into 2, 4xi, and then plus 2 square, so 4, divided by 10. Now you apply summation to all the three parts. Sigma of xi square minus 4 times sigma xi plus sigma 4 divided by 10. Sigma of xi square is 200, means sum of squares of all the variables is 200. So we can replace 200 here. Minus 4 times sigma xi we know is 20. So in place of sigma xi we can write 20. So 4 into 20. And then sigma 4. Sigma 4 means 4 plus 4 plus 4 till all the sigmas, till all the, means you need to keep summing 4 for all the 10 times, because there are 10 values. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 10 times, so this becomes 4 into 2 10, and then divided by n. So n, the value of n is equal to 10. So if we simplify this expression, we get 160 in the numerator, 10 in the denominator. So 16, and then square root of 16 is 4. So I calculated the value of standard deviation, I calculated the value of mean. You just need to substitute the value here. Standard deviation is 4 divided by mean is 2. So 4 by 2 into 100. So basically this becomes 2 into 100, so 200. So we get the coefficient of variation as 200 for this question. Okay. So thank you. This was all I had in the presentation for today. We had to answer 4 questions, and I answered them in detail one by one. Okay, so I hope this presentation was satisfactory for all of you. Okay, in case any doubts are there, please revert back to me. Okay, thank you.